Hello YouTube world, what is going on? We are KRT LYFE and we are back with another crazy Saturday story. Stay tuned because this Saturday was really crazy. So Saturdays, oh Saturday, how I love thee. We've had some really crazy Saturdays, almost, 3 weekends in a row?
Yeah, like back to back.
Back to back to back to back. And this one was one of those, this is going to be one of those vlogs that isn't really so much a happy vlog because it had a really, really tragic ending. And I guess I'll let Sister Cat here. Oh, I didn't even introduce us. I'm Brother Reza. This is your Sister Cat. But now that's out of the way, I'm going to let Sister Cat here tell y'all the beginning of the backstory on this crazy Saturday.
So, a couple of weeks prior that Saturday, one of our friends hit us up and he was like, hey, do you guys want to go ride four-wheelers in the woods? And of course the answer was yes, because like we would never turn that kind of thing down. So we had a few people getting together in the morning early, everybody, getting themselves together. It was, hour and a half ride.
Mm-hmm.
So we were kind of southeast of Atlanta, in the middle of nowhere. There is no cell phone service, nothing like that. So we get there, we get all our paperwork ready, we get our four-wheelers and bikes, whoever was on riding that day. I can't remember how many people we had.
We had about 9 people, I think.
Yeah, about a
people.
total of 9 people. So we hop in ours. A lot of people were just on bikes. We actually had 4-seaters because we had children, like two, whatever they call four-wheelers.
So we had what's called they're not like quads.
Side by side?
They're side by sides.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're like big, like they're almost like supersized go-karts that are really, really, really fast.
So and we hop in those and we start our journey into the woods.
Mm-hmm. So we started our journey into the woods and we had 2 Polaris, I believe Polaris 900. I can't remember what they were, 900 something side by sides. And we started our journey off into the woods, and immediately we lost the bikes and the quad that we were with, and so we went off on our own adventure, and we went riding through the trails, tearing up the trails, going like over all this terrain and stuff like that. And I mean, we were just hitting these like jumps and turns, and it was incredible. And
at some point, we actually went on the trail that wasn't supposed to be for us, so we got stuck, and eventually we turned around. Do you remember? When
we went up that. We went up a boulder climbing part of the section of the trails. We went up there. We turned around, and
But we kept on going.
So we kept going, and apparently, I guess in one of these mud pits, I think that their side by side hit something, and it broke the lower control arm and smashed the tire off of it. So we were stuck in the woods around this was about 11:30ish.
Yes.
We got stuck, and no, we didn't get stuck. They got stuck, but we stopped to help them out.
Oh, yeah.
And so we were stuck, and they were trying to fix the car. We had to call the people in the registration office to come and send another quad to with tools and stuff to repair it. To repair the quad that got broken by the tree. And so they weren't able to repair it. So by this time it was almost lunch. So we went back to the registration area. And
they didn't have another one side by side.
yes, and then they got another. Well, they didn't have a 4-seater side by side. So they got a 2-seater side by side to replace the 4-seater side by side. And so after lunch and everybody was ready to go, it charged up for the second part of the day. We decided everybody's sticking together this time. We're going to follow each other through the woods.
Bikes and everybody, yes.
Yeah, and we were going to just have a merry old time with all of us. So we set off, and we're going, and we got to the section of the trail that we were trying to go to where there was this little track, and immediately this friend of ours almost flips over. And we're just like...
He ended up again on one side on 2 wheels at some point.
And we're just like, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. What in the world is really going on? And there's a point in this video where we're going around this track, and we stop, and I pull up, and I'm like, hey, I was like, you almost flipped over? And he was like, yeah. He was like, there was a hole in the ground or something like that. And I was just like,
I'm good.
All right. I was like, well, that's how you feel. Okay, cool. So we proceed down the first trail that leads into the trail system in this off-road place. Mm-hmm. And we're going down this trail, and we're just, at one point the bikes are leading, so we're kind of going slow.
Yes.
And then after the bike's leading, then this friend of ours like, oh, let me lead. So he starts leading. But anyway, so we get through this section of this trail, and we get to this big opening, right? And it's a pretty flat opening, and it has some mud pools and stuff like that. So we get there, and we're just hitting some donuts, waiting for the entire the crew to catch up, because he was flying. But we're doing donuts, and the crew is gradually emerging from the woods, and everybody's congregating on this big area. So we're doing a couple donuts and stuff, and we did a donut, and then we went back to one side, and then I'm turning, and as I'm turning, I look to my left, and I see that my friend's quad has completely flipped over this time and is laying on its side. So in my head, I look and I'm like, oh, okay, they flipped over. You know what I'm saying? It has a roll cage.
Yeah.
They got helmets on.
That's what I thought. I'm like,
belts.
okay, I was just gonna flip it back.
Everybody's fine. We'll just pick it up and we'll just keep driving through the woods. That's what the roll cage is for.
Yes.
And then so we slowly make our way over there to the side so we can see them or whatever, make face-to-face contact, and we get over there. And the passenger in the quad was just like losing her mind, like screaming and crying panicking and blah blah blah. And I get out, and I didn't notice what had happened at first, but I get out, and I'm like, when I walk over there, and then as I get closer, I see this huge pool of like blood on the ground, and I'm just like, oh my God, like what happened? So I realized, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So I realized what happened, and now everybody's like, gets out and jumps off their vehicles or whatever, and we're all trying to find out, like, do the best we can to figure out what's going on. And I mean, everything was going so fast. But
I stayed in our the 4-seater thing, because like we had 2 kids in the back. So I'm trying to get them, keep them inside so they don't get out. Because obviously with the blood involved, there's something going on. I didn't want him to panic even more.
Right. So I walk up and I get close enough, and I realize that my friend's hands, like his fingers, are both dangling on just by the skin, and like these are fine, but these 2 are just like completely like just hanging down like this.
They look like they were crushed.
They were completely crushed, and I was just like, oh my God! I was like, what in the world? And we're in the middle of nowhere. Our cell phones aren't working. We don't have any maps. We don't know where we're going. And
then when you're in the woods, they have these poles. Eventually, you ride by one where they're supposed to have like one of those radios. Mm-hmm. So we don't know where the closest one. And the cell phones are everybody's cell phones were down, no matter who had whatever provider.
Carrier, nobody's phones are working. So,
and we're like 30 minutes deep probably.
Yeah, we were like 40 minutes deep in the woods. Some of our friends went to go try to see if they could find some call boxes so they could radio in for emergency help. And we just made a decision that, look, we're going to have to get him out of here ourselves, because by the time we find a radio, like he might bleed out, and like who knows. Yeah. So we grab a handkerchief, and then he shows me his hand, and he's like, look, tourniquet this. And I was looking at it, and I was like, tourniquet this? I'm like, man, if you tourniquet this, man, if I tourniquet this, you might lose your hand, because I don't know how long it's going to take us to get there. And I'm looking at it, and it's bad, but it wasn't like shooting out blood. So I was like, I probably shouldn't tourniquet this. So I wrapped up the scarf around his arm, or his hand, just to cover it, and just keep his fingers from just like, falling off. Put it all in the scarf, tied it up or whatever. We put him inside of the quad that we were driving, and then we started our journey to try to make it back to the registration office. And when I tell you that was a nightmare, it was a nightmare.
I felt like we were riding for like 2 hours. It felt so long because we were so deep in, and we couldn't figure out where the hell we're going. I'm like, and then some of these trails, they cross path. So if you take a wrong turn, you might end up on a whole new trail for another like completely different direction. So,
and we had to drive super slow because I didn't want him to fall out of the back of the one that we were in.
Back of the,
So I was driving slow. I'm trying to make sure, because I don't want to try to cause him any extra pain, but I'm also thinking time is like super important. The faster I get him somewhere so his injury can be stabilized, the better chance he stands of his fingers being saved. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want him to bleed out or faint, in the back of the thing, because then if he would have fainted, then we would have had to restrain him and hold him in and go through these crazy off-road trails.
And mind you, we still have those 2 children in the car.
And we still have the 2 children in the car, and everybody's like crying, and I'm just focused on just getting back as safely as I could. So after driving for what felt like an eternity, we finally make it back. And when we make it back, the people at the registration house, they have their medical kit, their emergency medical kit. They break everything out, and they start doing the field triage stuff, or whatever you want to call it, cleaning it and like dressing the wound and trying to get everything stabilized so that he can be moved to the ambulance that was on the way. And yeah, so finally he's like, you know, the ambulance comes, he gets in the ambulance, and then there was a task of trying to figure out where he went and how to get there. So we had to figure out how to get there with no types of aids to get us there. The GPSs in the car were useless. And we're driving, we're trying to figure out our way there, and then like the directions that they gave us were some basic country directions. Oh, make a right, then a right, and you'll get to Athens.
Yeah.
That's literally what they told us. So I'm like, okay, a right and a right. So we hit this road, and this road is just gravel. And we're thinking, okay, maybe this is going to be a short gravel road. Hopefully it doesn't reach a dead end. But we rode on this gravel dirt road for probably 4 miles.
We were about to, when we got on it and we rode just a little bit, we like, okay, we're gonna turn around, and then we stopped, and I saw the car coming from opposite direction, so I'm like, okay, so this is a through road, it's not gonna be a dead end. So we just kept on going, but yeah, it was at least 4 miles.
Yeah, we just kept going and going, and mind you, we're in the middle of nowhere. It's trees everywhere. We have no idea where we're going. There's no cell phone service, no maps, no Waze, no Google this. None of that stuff was working, and we were just driving, hoping that we were going in the right direction. Then finally, we hit a main road, and we were able to make a left, and after that, it was pretty much a straight shot to Athens, and our phone started working at that point.
Yeah, eventually.
Because we were pretty much out of the woods.
Yeah.
And we finally made it to the hospital, and by the time we got there, my friend was in the emergency room, and they had his hand all wrapped up and all that kind of stuff. And then he had to go from there to surgery, and after that surgery, what was it? What time was it at that? Like 9 p.m. by that point?
Yeah, it was around 9:30, I want to say, because they had to wait for almost 2 hours for him to, wake up properly from the anesthesia, which took a lot longer than actual surgery. Surgery took 30 minutes, but the recovery was longer.
So
and then,
so then it took forever. And then they had to, get home back to Atlanta, which was another hour and some change drive, and it was a very, very long and very dramatic day.
Because then we still had to find a pharmacy, which was for some reason very challenging to find. A 24-hour pharmacy. Yeah, the CVS open, but the pharmacy part isn't. So that was another whole other task, but we finally managed, and we got that all together. I think we got him home, I want to say close to probably 12:30, 12:45.
So finally got him home, and and I guess that was a couple of weeks ago now. And the doctors are still trying to figure out if they're going to be able to save our friend's finger, and fingers, I should say, rather. And we're keeping our thoughts and hopes and prayers with them that, everything ends up good in the end. So if you're out there and you subscribe to our channel, just keep our friend in your thoughts. Please. That hopefully he'll be able to keep use of his hand. And we're KRT Life, KRT Life with the Y. Like, subscribe, comment, all that cool stuff. This is one of those vlogs that ain't really, the best vlog.
But it's very real. So if anybody, because this was my first time going off-roading like this, in the quad or whatever, the 4-seater, whatever that is, side by side. And I understood it was dangerous, but I'm like, okay, well, we still have these, roll cages and all this stuff. But whoever's going there, either you experienced or not, please be careful.
Be careful.
This can end up really bad. And literally yesterday, I saw on the news that 2 brothers were riding the same thing, and they both hit the same ditch and died. Both of them, within minutes from each other.
Wow.
They're doing the same thing what we were doing.
Wow.
So, yes, literally.
Yeah, so be careful out there on the quads and on the bikes and the side-by-sides. They're fun. They're lots of fun, but just as long as you respect the machine, you should be okay. But just always respect the machine and use all the safety precautions you possibly can. Please. Goggles, helmets, gloves, safety harnesses, whatever you can get it. And have fun and be safe out there. We are KRT Life, KRT Life with the Y. Like, subscribe, comment, all that cool stuff. And share with us any stories that you have from, situations that you've had similar like that, riding quads or, emergency situations. We kind of want to hear from y'all. And y'all be safe out there. Peace.